Well, hello. This is Jeff with Final Boss Editing. Sorry about the delay. I haven't streamed in quite some time. Had a bit of a crazy couple of weeks at work, but thankfully back in business. So yeah, hope everyone's holidays are going well. Today I'm editing a short story. Try to make this a little more compressed, just in case the comments come up. Ooh, hello. Yeah, like this. All right, cool. And if it's not easy to see, let me know in the chat. Alrighty, so let's get started. So there's a short story called "Practiced" by James Thomas. So we'll take a look at it. When Dr. Scott Matthew noticed his son Blake, that his son had a brochure in his hand, he didn't stand. I don't know, the name introduction is a little bit clinky. Notice that his son Blake, brochure in his hand, he didn't stand to greet. Instead, maybe something a little bit more descriptive. Instead, he raised a hand in a lazy salutation. Oops, I want to try and track changes here. It's a little bit over-described there, but something that can be resolved. Kept his seat. Beneath the cover deck, on the left side, he enjoyed his spot beneath the cover deck on the left end of his elegant house and didn't feel like getting up. The disappointment that the purpose of his son's visit was business. He enjoyed his spot beneath the cover deck on the left end of his elegant house and didn't feel like getting up. The disappointment that the purpose of his son's surprise visit was business only encouraged him to let Blake come to him. Only reinforced his decision. To let Blake come to him. Blake waved back and held the pamphlet over his head. Taking a deep breath of the desert air, Scott prepared himself for the worst. Blake waved back, shut the door to his Range Rover, and held up him and waved, shook the pamphlet over his head like a trophy. Taking a deep breath of the desert air, Scott prepared himself for the worst. He could sense this was just the type of distraction he didn't want to start the month of his review. Hey, buddy. You too. My brother just said hi. How's it going, Foxy Lady? I need to make you a moderator. I don't know how to do that. I think I'm gonna. How do I do that? Op user. I'll check. I'm gonna Google real fast. See how to make you a moderator on my Twitch. I don't know, there's gotta be a way. Oh well. We'll see. It's lagging in and out. What a surprise! Laggy internet for you. That never happens. OP user. What does it tell me to do? Grant moderator status. Okay, that's what I want. Bam. All right, you're a moderator officially, Fox. Enjoy that power. Now you can mute people and go bananas. Look at you have a little sword now. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, it's pretty baller. I'm proud. It's a big promotion. Don't get all full of yourself. Then we're gonna have to fire you. Kind of moderate those comments, girl. Now you can do commands like /clear and stuff, and it'll clear out the whole channel. Taking a deep breath. Okay. He could sense it was just the type of distraction he didn't want this month. The Mexican Medical Journal. Keep his title. The U.S. Medical Journal was evaluating top surgeons in the Southwest of the year, and he wanted to keep his title. Heat radiated off of Blake's car engine from the truck. It's a little bit over-detailed, maybe. Ban me and take over the channel. You can do it. Just take over, babe. Yeah, I think this is just completely not necessary. Boop. Is it really necessary to go over this blank? No, it's expensive. Like, so he's leaning forward in his seat. Whoa, whoa, whoa. All the power belong to us. Blake cast a pamphlet on the table beside Scott. He sat down now. I know it's expensive, Dad. Blake replied. Leaned forward in his seat and ran a thin hand. Continued is not ever necessary. Something I'm learning myself as I edit my own novel. I know it's expensive, Dad. Baker replied. I know it's expensive, Dad, Baker replied as he leaned forward in his seat and ran a hand through. Little heavy on the details. I'm going to put a period there. But it's nothing compared to the assailants on Friday. I came over once I found out. The machine was a piece of mechanical perfection. The Excimer custom wavefront LASIK laser. Its casing, monitors, and pedals mixed an elegant sloping form with efficient practicality. However, even with the discount, the price was as big as the name. Bink, new paragraph. Get some breathing room for the reader. Hey, Silent Willow. How's it going? I know, I've been a slacker. Shame on me. Seriously. Supervirus. The supervirus. Well, I'm gonna probably stream pretty late tonight, so you're in luck. But I can catch you up. So this is a short story by Mr. James Thomas, and it's called The Practice. So far, it's about a doctor and his son. And the son wants to buy this very expensive machine for their medical practice. And the doctor doesn't want to. So, hey, Skittles. Sorry I've been MIA for so long. I've been, work has been a little bit on the crazy side lately, unfortunately. So all we've pretty much had time for is our... Thanks for the host after hours. I'm never really sure what that means. I'm kind of a Twitch noob. Besides, I think I'm just besides just like knowing how to turn it on. That's kind of the limit of my my abilities there. But yeah, so what I'm doing is just to give you guys some context. This is the start of a short story about a doctor and his son. The son wants to kind of buy. I'm gonna give my horrible. No horrible opinions. Yeah, it's the great thing about storytelling is if you sense something's wrong, and we kind of talked about this last time. If you sense something's off, talk about it. That's like the best way to make sure the story gets better. Be like, hey, you know, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, you know, when I read like Harry Potter, for example, things don't usually pop out at me because the story is so smooth. It just goes. It means that when the followers go there, chat room, it seems says now hosting name, and they usually go, oh, cool. Yeah, TY after hours, and Skittles for the explanation. I'm slowly evolving my Twitch game, but I can just read from the top, since everybody just seemed to have jumped on. When Dr. Scott Matthews noticed that his son Blake had a brochure in his hand, he didn't stand to greet him. So that kind of brings up the conflict, right? Instead, he raised his hand. Hand to hand is really close together here. So you want to watch out for these close words, like stuff like this. So those can kind of stick out. So this fist. And his son Blake had a medical brochure clenched in his fist. He didn't stand to greet him. Instead, he raised a hand in a lazy salute and kept his seat. He enjoyed his spot beneath the covered deck on the left side of his elegant house and didn't feel like getting up. Besides, the disappointment it's kind of odd wording. He enjoyed the spot beneath the covered deck on the left end of his elegant house and didn't feel like getting up. The disappointment that the purpose of his son's visit was business only reinforced. Blake waved back and shut the door to his Range Rover. Lurk mode. A pamphlet over his head, and shook the pamphlet over his head like a trophy as he walked over. That was my own edit mistake. Shame on me. As he walked over. Taking a deep breath of the desert air, Scott prepared himself for the worst. He could sense this was just the type of distraction he didn't want this month. The New Mexico Medical Journal was evaluating top surgeons of the Southwest for the year, and he wanted to keep his title. So this is a good setup. Maybe... How can we turn this setup on its head? Maybe the son, not the father, gets the accolades. And that's just like making the, like, you know, the story kind of be like, oh, like the father really wants this, but maybe, like this is like modern lit. I think it's like more just like a drama, straight up, as opposed to like something that's more specific. Okay, so this was cut out because it was just overdone description. Blake cast a pamphlet on the table in front of Scott and took a seat across from him. Is it really necessary to go over this again, Blake? Scott said. I know it's expensive, Dad. I'll do asked in reply. Yeah, it's a little bit overdone. No, it's expensive, Dad. Blake. As he leaned forward in his seat and ran a hand through his dark hair. But it's nothing compared to the regular price. The sales ends on Friday, and I came over. Sale ends on Friday. Period. I came over. Yeah, the commas, those are two separate sentences. So, you know, that's kind of a common thing, is to try to use the comma to be a period, but it's not. With an obliging smile. So far so good. So good setup, good conflict between the father and son. Father kind of is tired. With an obliging smile, Dr. Matthews opened the pamphlet. He did have to admit the machine was a piece of mechanical perfection. Okay, price as long as its name. He sat down to drink. Laid the pamphlet. He sat down to drink. He set down his drink. Maybe we'll have to break that action up. Laid it on the table and said, "Couldn't we have talked about this at the office, son? I don't understand why you always bring up business in our home." In our homes, would you care about anything else? Blake sighed and said, "I can bring the kids over next weekend if you want, Dad, but this is important. If we can close on this new machine while it's cheap, we won't have to work mornings at the Chavez Surgical Center anymore. We won't have to share profit with their management." That's a bit, yeah. We won't have to work mornings. It's kind of weird. If we can close on this minimum comma, we won't have to work mornings at the Chavez Surgical Center anymore. And no more sharing profit. With them either. All my LASIK. See you guys in a sec. Cool. Okay. So let's see what we got here. Check the pamphlet. So good stuff. I kind of want to escalate the conflict a little bit at this point. It's kind of taken the step from impersonal, like, oh, I want to sit down, to personal, like, why don't you bring the kids over? But I think this could use a lot of trimming at this point. It's a little bit fatty. All my LASIK profits would go straight to the kids. Kids' scholarship funds. And you'd be an innovator in the market, Dad. I already have that. I think you already say that enough. Dr. Matthews stared for a while at his son, and he pressed one of his slippered feet against the deck's stained. That's a mouthful. Kind of trimming that. All my profits could go straight to my children's future. Yeah. All my. Yeah, I think the one thing is I do want, because I have profit here, you could probably just like this, more sharing revenue with their management either. All the profits from my LASIK surgeries would go straight to the kids' college funds and to be in the innovator market. Dr. Matthews stared for a while at his son, pressed one of his slippered feet against the deck's stained floorboards. Stared for a while at his son. I don't think that semicolons. You want to use a semicolon that attaches, like logical thoughts, but that's just a different period. And you don't want to use an infinitive, like, you don't want to use two. You'd rather use compound. So you pressed one of his slippered fingers for an inch, and it's kind of a weird sentence. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this, it's probably going to be a lot of sentence structure stuff. Some of this college, gotta go to bed, Twitch. Curse you, Twitch. Good to see you, Casey. How's it going, man? Well, Skittles, if you like the writing stuff, Casey is also an awesome writer. So you should definitely give him a follow. Really cool guy. I think he was working on, last time I tuned in, it was NaNoWriMo, I think. But yeah, doing some awesome stuff. It's the best way to learn to write. Just watch and write. Yeah. That's a good idea. Referring to yeah, good idea. Yeah, I think it's good. I think he's trying to convince his dad, from what it sounds like. So it sounds like, he's trying to convince his dad to make this purchase. So yeah, I think that's absolutely makes sense in context. And it's more like him knowing his audience, right? So I think that, if he knows this is something his dad cares about and prides himself on, he's going to use it. And push his chair. The eager asking expression, eager comment asking his face, was not foreign to Scott. Its use extended back to childhood, requests for candy and junk food, but he knew better than to fall prey to another passing phase. He rubbed his gray beard. I would clarify who's thinking again, but Scott knew better than to fall prey to another one of his son's passing phases. And this is just kind of condescending, like him being a bit condescending. Hey, what's up, Silent Willow? Good to have you back. This is actually not Skittles, though I've encouraged him to send something in. This is Mr. James Thomas. I don't know what his Twitch name is, so if he's tuned in, I just have his email, so I'm just gonna email him because Twitch is awesome and it auto records these for me. So, welcome back. Keep reading, we'll find out. Oh, deal. I'll keep an eye out for it. He rubbed his gray beard that covered his lean face. I've kept this practice running for 35 years because I didn't risk its financial security and reputation on every new machine that hit the market. Past tense. Why should I change now and stake my 5-year record for best surgeon in the Southwest on some fancy device? That makes surgeries take longer. It takes longer because it's precision cuts every lens flap. I think the New Mexico Monthly reviewers would be happy to see our practice making advancements. Oh, there you are. You're right. Let me see what you're... Oh, more than happy. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's probably being a bit more antagonistic. So I may kind of stick with the. Let me just note that to the writer. Because I mean, in anything that where you're like, wait a second, that sounds off. Even though whatever it is may not make it into the final edit, and that's okay. It's good to just note that this is a clunky part. Clarify this line of dialogue. And that's just a good way to make sure that, like, hey, the writer knows that somebody hit like a snag in that part of the read, and obviously they'll be able to kind of edit from there. Blake replied, growing exasperated, "The race won't even be close if we have a spanking new wavefront custom Exemer." I don't know if he has to. If we have a spanking new Exemer laser of our own, I don't know if you have to like go into the whole like wavefront next generation second part laser beam. They would love it if we didn't waste time every morning. It's kind of restating. It's kind of restating what their argument was earlier. Hell, we could even charge other people to use our lasers. Miles better. You just want to shorten this. No more old equipment. So I mean, you kind of wanted to like. I think these dialogue. And maybe it's just because I am more used to screenplays. This dialogue seems really verbose. Where if you could like, I mean, I think this thing could be trimmed a lot. A lot of the things you'll probably see me doing are cuts, right? Because I think that's a little bit over-described. I like the conflict between the two doctors. I think that's really well set up. But I think there's so much packing, like just like extra detail, that you're going to lose that core of the story. So I think what the writer will want to do is find those one or two details that matter and that make the world the world. Cut out a ton of this fluff and detail. Focus only the stuff that matters, or it will start distracting. Context. Your story. Yeah, and that's like the bummer. Oops, word help. Thank you. That's all good, Skittle. That's the joy of just getting used to it, man. And one thing too is like the more you write on your own and kind of practice, hey, like you'll have a really good sense, and that's just like just like drop the subject and let it go on. Yeah. I think like the older doctor is like kind of like just leave me alone, leave me be, and that's exactly the point, right? Skittles is I think that it's so verbose and there's so much other stuff happening in the dialogue that we're losing like the core of like, okay, this is what the characters are fighting over, or having conflict over. It doesn't have to be like a fight, but it has to be like a little bit of a give and take, kind of like tug of war in some sense. Blake replied, growing exasperation, won't even close if we have a spanking new Exemer laser in our office. No more old equipment at the surgical center. Hell, we could even charge other people to use it. We are surgeons, not see. I mean, look at that. It's just extra the same line of dialogue, just written longer. Just trim. We are surgeons, not financiers. His father replied in a firm voice. It's not what I meant. Scott brandished his wine glass and said, "I am the principal partner of our medical practice, and I refuse to allow, and we will not make these purchases." And maybe, like you said, we just need to make this clear. We're not buying overpriced toy. So let it drop. The surgical center cooperative has paid our bills. The surgical center cooperative has paid our bills for years. I will not kill a good thing and ruin our practice's good name for the piece of impractical machinery. So this is saying that same line twice. So like I would almost just cut this one. The surgery center is going to burn. I'm kind of on the fence about that one. Eesh. Yeah, I think it's just trimming is going to be. Cause I actually do like the way the character conflict is developing and the way the father is this overbearing type thing, but the principal partner and we're not buying an overpriced toy, so let it drop. Bam. Cut it. Cut. Merciless. The sound of wind rustling the mountain shrubs behind his house punctuated the silence between father and son. Noticing the sag in his son's narrow shoulders, he continued tentatively. Well, now that you're here, why don't you sit down and have some wine? It's got great flavor. Turn out diagnosis murder. It's a little bit, eh. Now that you're here, why don't you stay? He's already sitting down. Stay. Why don't you stay for a glass of wine? I've got to get home. Blake said as a badly hidden sigh escaped his lips. Michelle's having a girls' night with her friends, so it's baby duty for me. See you at the office. See you tomorrow. Just trim, like little trims make a big difference. Night, Ceci. Or Casey. Thanks for checking in at least. I appreciate it. And good luck with your writing as well. And as always, if you ever have anything you would like us to edit, let me know. Cool. Okay. Scott nodded briskly and watched his son climb into his Range Rover, pull out of the run. He sat on his deck a few minutes in the fresh evening air before he went inside, threw his empty glass in the dishwasher, and watched Diagnosis Murder alone. The next morning at the surgical center, Dr. Matthews looked for Blake between cases to take a stab. I think this is still pretty verbose. Ooh, good. Good point. Good point. I will check that out. Scott stared after his son and sat on the desk a few minutes in the fresh evening air before he went inside and watched diagnosis. Don't need a comma there. The next morning at the surgical center, Dr. Matthews looked for Blake between cases to take a stab at making up. That's a little bit on the nose. Like, I don't really... This is like a show don't tell. Can we show him trying to make up instead of telling us? I mean, sometimes you just have to just be like, hey, this is what the character wants, but usually you want to at least express it through his actions. Yeah, over a third doesn't really mean very much. Finish a third, because, I mean, what's the third? It doesn't matter. Oh, see you in a little bit. Okay, so I already finished a third of his operations. I'm just gonna. Scott finished a third of his operations before he finally caught Blake washing his hands in a small prep room full of surplus equipment. Half his operations for the day before he finally caught Blake washing his hands in his a lot of commas. I don't like. That's a very tough sentence to grok. It just makes the sentence massive. He finished at half his operations before he finally caught Blake. Saw Blake in a small pep room. You should establish washing his hands later. Scott ducked into the room. Already established it was small. Edge between boxes of gloves and implant lenses and stood next to Blake. Kind of the weird. I'm not sure how I feel about that dialogue there. Let me see. Just the action is so clunky. Taking a deep breath, Scott ducked into the small room, edge between extra boxes of gloves and implant lenses, and stood next to Blake at the sink. So I ducked into the room. He edged between boxes of gloves and implant lenses, and sit next to Blake at the sink. He ignored the overprinting scent of sterilizing solution. He said, I think I may have been short with you yesterday. Short. So this is like a weird private scene. Maybe it would be worth it to make it public and have edge between boxes of supplies. Yeah, good call. Let me see, edge between boxes of supplies. Yeah, I mean, I think the goal, you're hitting it right on the head, is just like, how do we compress? Because I think there's a good setup between these two doctors, but the prose is just like so heavy that the writer is going to struggle to communicate his story. Scott ducked into the small room. He edged between boxes of supplies and a different oven there for him, and stood next to Blake at the sink. He ignored the orb and said, "Stood next to Blake at the sink." Yeah, short with these short, as he seemed to engross watching them properly. How'd your surgeries go this morning then? Good. When reviewers, I'm gonna speed up my edit a little bit. I think the line edit kind of will. It's pretty clear that those issues will be pretty prevalent unless it's just like big stuff to cut. I'm probably gonna go for more of the thematic issues. So this may be better in a public setting. So like, what's the difference between this conversation and the first one? Usually like a public setting, people looking on, especially if it looks like the father has a pride problem, that's a great way to like bring that out. Can we show the father's pride by making him have to look good in front of people? Okay, set the right case. Reputation will survive. Blinking away the harsh reply and holding back an apt retort. As beware accident. Blinking away the harsh reply. Just pull that out. Dr. Matthews hurriedly asked, so this is the same scene pretty much. As like the second half, as the last bit of the first, to make up for his selfishness. So that's probably, this scene is pretty good to go, I would think. Well, I did want to apologize for my shortness with the machine. Where do you want to meet? So you asked about the financial plan again. Yeah, this scene could also, even if you keep it, scene could be much shorter. Scott leaned back against the cabinets of supplies, had the doctor's lounge. How long do you think it'll be? Hey, Bookfish. Good to see ya. So this is a short story by James Thomas, and pretty much I did a more comprehensive line-by-line edit earlier, but now I'm kind of going for some of the bigger scene character issues. Some of the things. So the premise of the story is a doctor's son is trying to buy this new piece of equipment for their medical practice. But the doctor's father, who is also his partner in the medical practice, is a bit more like very like set in his ways, very prideful, and is trying to like block his son from like getting this new machine. So the conflict between the doctors is actually really strong, very believable. I kind of want to see it resolved because I feel that problem with the characters, but there's a lot of fat on the prose, so it's kind of making the read a little bit slower than probably it could be. But yeah, overall it's like pretty strong. But just a lot of like two of the same scenes kind of have the same point, stuff like that. Scott leaned against one of the cabinets of supplies and said, "How's the doctor's lounge? How long do you think it'll be?" "Well, I've got Miss Sanders, that lady referred me for LASIK." Blake trailed off, and Scott with the cat, "Is 20 minutes enough for you?" "Please, Dad." 20 minutes enough. How is that competitive? Maybe they're competing over surgery? clear that this is the case. Be clear that this is the case. Yeah, I mean, if they're going to be competing over it, I mean, surgery at times is kind of a moral weird. That's a good angle. Just make it clear. Catching this minute, please, Dad. I'll be there in 12. These babies are lightning fast. He wriggled his fingers in the air. Scott snapped on his gloves, strode through the door, and practically jogged towards the patient. The overhead lights were turned on, making the operating room than the already blinding hallway. With Walter as scrub nurse, "What's the rush, Dr. M?" Scott ignored the question as he blinked and settled in his seat next to the squat mid-40s woman smiling at him from under the stair lamp called on the operating table. It was only then when Walter said, "We have a guest," that he noticed a tall man clad in a suit standing in the corner. On cue, the man stood up, approached him, and said, "Dr. Scott Matthews, I am Alex Thompson, the reviewer for the Medical Mexico Journal." So I think these scenes can definitely be compressed. Can the son and father argue like the scene above, but with a journal rep waiting? Also, doesn't... I mean, I don't really know what's at stake if these guys don't resolve their relationship. Professional distance employees approach things very differently. Yeah. And that's absolutely right. So I think that's what the writer is getting at here, but you kind of want to assume the reader doesn't have that kind of context. So I think you get it, and you're like, oh yeah, the doctor is competing over how fast they can do surgery. Bam. But then there is that kind of like next level of like, would everybody get that? And like, that's probably less likely with this explanation. Also, there's a lot of fat in this. Like, I like the parent, like the father-son conflict, and I see that this family relationship is a little bit at stake, but I really want to see some like pressure on their relationship getting to happen now. Like, we gotta not much pressure on their relationship is being added. So they kind of made up. Just made up. Okay, so the medical journal. "It's a pleasure to see you work." Scott nodded curtly, trying not to glance at the clock as he imagined his son's smirk when he came in late from a simple LASIK surgery. He muttered a hurried, "Let's get started then," and took his seat next to the woman. He smiled, told her she wouldn't feel a thing, and started. The eye was already prepped. It only took a few moments to wheel the creaking, non-custom Summit Apex guided laser over to the patient. I think this detail is the good one. Good detail shows age, but the rest of the name is a bit... So I don't think anybody except the doctor would know. Non-custom laser over to the patient. Out of the corner of his eye, I noticed Mr. Thompson sit up. Did he take offense to the outdated laser? Pushing the question from his mind, he held out his hand to Walter and said, "Keratome cutter." A tiny instrument glittered in the light as it passed from hand to hand. Its circular blade, crafted to cut a membrane-thin flap in the patient's cornea, rotated lazily from the movement. The manufactured cutting edge held the finest grind. It slid through the fine tissue like a Damascus blade through floating silk. That's a bit... bond, simile, spell. How does one spell simile? I'm not the writing instructor, guys. No, it's true. I think that's like a really interesting point, and I think, yeah, I think it probably would work in context of this world. I just don't know if the writer had even communicated that that was happening. So I think, yeah, I think it was kind of that mix where, like, you're right, it does kind of bring up a cool moral quandary that probably the writer should consider exploring, but yeah, kind of a little bit of a trade-off there. Okay, safety plate in and locked doctor. Scott confirmed visually. Yeah. It is kind of crazy, though, that doctors do that. Gotta see who's fastest. But, you know, like you said, it's how sometimes people cope. That's a tough job. I know a few people who have done that, or even like in the army, and you know, it's not a cakewalk. Jeez. Whew. Not in California time. I may not last too much longer. It's maybe a short edit. I feel bad, but I wanted to at least jump in and say hi to everybody tonight, and now I'm officially on break from work. So hopefully I'll be able to get on and do some more edits with you guys this week. Safety plate in and locked doctor. The woman remained perfectly still as he fitted the speculum over her eyes' lids, opening them to a wide diameter to prevent any mistakes, especially with the reviewer in the room. Her eye glowed under the microscope like a planet lit by the sun. The clock seemed to move alarmingly fast as the charactome slid across the planet's smooth surface, cutting the corneal flap. See, I like this simile better, because it's in context. And then maybe you don't even need to use metaphoric language there. It's because, yeah. Yeah, it's a tough job, that's for sure. Got to say a prayer for the good doctors out there, man. It's amazing work, but it's tough, especially with some of the new legal stuff that's been going on lately. Using other instruments, he lifted it to expose the stromal bed, the lasers reshaping and replacing the flap. He moved the second eye and repeated the process. It's a little bit heavy on jargon. I can usually just say he glanced. It neared. Word choice. He shifted his weight in frustration. Then it happened. His brief movement disturbed the precise replacement of the clear flap. You want to space that out. Bam. A wrinkle in the fading ring left behind, like from a skipped stone. Huh. I'm trying to... Yeah, I think they brought in the conflict in time, but... And I like having the reviewer in the room. Clara, yeah, I want to reiterate, yeah. Because sometimes the reader just forgets. His brief movement disturbed this precise replacement of the clear flap of cornea. A wrinkle like the fading ring left behind from a skipped stone distorted the eyes. Flap smooth, glossy surface. Damn, Scott hissed in a whisper. He glanced under his arm at the examiner. Okay, good. I'm dumb. It happened right here. Good job. Good job. His scrubs nurse eyes were wide as he stared at the lump in the flap in Scott's mouth. We'll fix this. He pushed mental images of the woman crying with broken eyes upon receiving the news of her damaged vision as he silently struggled to fix his mistake, praying the examiner remained oblivious. It was another 20 minutes before Scott replaced his steps and smoothed the wrinkle in the corneal flap. I could have permanently distorted the woman's vision. The examiner still seemed unaware. Now that we have this conflict, I almost want to lengthen it out. Now that we have this tense situation, can we sit in it for a bit longer? Yeah, I mean, I think part of that adjusting the scene length is going to be shortening those scenes where it's just talking and sha-la-la, and, you know, having a little bit more depth to these more intense scenes. Yeah. All the thinking is real. Don't break your brain, sir. Eee, my poor brain. It's also like about 1:20. I may only go till 1:30 or 1:40 today because I'm old and weak and feeble. Maybe 2 if I'm really crazy. But my poor consciousness begins to fade after enough time of just like, oh, what should I do? Especially late night editing is always a bit more like, oh yeah. Yeah. Very true. It is definitely like the oh shit. But then it's like, you know, once you're there, that's when you want to bring in the exposition and like do all that other stuff. Like, you know, maybe he thinks about, man, if I had that laser that my son was talking about, I would have avoided this, or like those types of information transfer. If the writer expanded the scene and then leveraged that tension to get some more of that information across, he'd probably be pretty well positioned to have a little bit more of a compelling narrative. It's a good story. I like the doctors, but I think it just needs that tightening up. Maybe even get some of that expo across. Can you guys even see those notes? Yeah, I guess sort of. All right, later, Foxy. I think I'm gonna be hitting the hay pretty soon too. Thanks for hanging out. Fox's newly upgraded moderator. She got a sweet sword next to her name, so you know she got promoted. It's a big career moment for the Foxy lady. She's gonna be over that whole pharmacy school thing and become the real pro. Replace his steps with a regular corneal flap. The examiner still seemed aware of the incident since the initial surgery had gone so quickly, and the repair of the complication had passed in whispers. The surgery was a success, but barely. Show. Patient tottered out with a smile, not realizing she'd almost lost vision in her left eye. The doctor's lounge slammed as Scott slammed open. Scott started to face his son. Blake sat at the far end of the room with Rich, watching TV and sipping on a Sprite. Sipping a Coke. A little bit more general. Happy editing, Foxy. No. Usually if it's like really long, I'll if I don't have anything on my docket for a long time, I'll try to edit as much as I can. But most of the time what I'll do is if it's a really long work, I will at least edit like the first, 20, 30 pages. And most of the time what you'll find is a lot of those, because I mean I've done whole big slogs through novels, and most of the time is you'll find that those issues that you're seeing early in the draft, they're usually pretty evenly spread. So a lot of the stuff that is wrong with like the first third of the novel, those same issues will sometimes recur later on. So I actually, I usually say, hey, even if I don't have time to finish the whole thing, I'll try to do the first, like, 20, 30 pages, just so some of you can be like, hey, maybe I have trouble with showing and not telling. This is what it looks like. So if you have a novel you'd like us to look at, give us a shout. Send it over. I would love to read it and take a look. Yeah. But yeah, no max word count. I'll try to get as far as I can. But yeah, most of the time, even if I'm not able to get all the way through it, with whether it's work or whatever, a lot of people still found it pretty helpful in those things. Yeah, nice. Nice. Yeah, 50K is not too bad. That's a good chunk. That's like about I think 2 screenplays. So screenplays is about 30K. So yeah, send it over. I'll try to get through as much as I can. No worries. Well, more than happy to help. So feel free to send it over when you're ready. And yeah, it's my pleasure to help out. I know that's the language stuff is always tricky, and hey, if we can help even make the story even better, hopefully, we'd love to help there as well. But yeah, let me know. More than happy to help. Good, and congrats, by the way, on finishing it. That is a feat in and of itself. So I bow. Richie was guffawing at football. Guffawing, that's a bit of a weird word. Over detailed. Well, what's the point of Rich being in there? Oops. For choice, and if he just leaves, what's the point of Rich? Maybe just to show that, like, Scott has friends? Is it just... I mean, I guess that makes sense. Or, I mean, sorry, Matt. Or Blake. Well, thank you. I'm more than happy to edit without anything either. I just love I love editing. I think it makes me a stronger writer, and I think it's also just fun to hang out with you guys and talk through cool stories and stuff like that, which is always like so intriguing. So I mean, hopefully when I do my writing Twitch ones, you'll see those progressively improving as I keep editing. So bring it on. I always learn a lot from editing. So I mean, I would almost encourage, if you guys are big fans of of writing. Like, if you got, I know both of you all do a lot. I would always say, take a swing. Do the Amateur Friday from Script Shadow. Just kind of go in with like a really analytical approach on, fiction, prose, or or something more. But it's weird. It's different, at least for me, whenever I'm editing my own stuff versus somebody else's. You can usually see a lot more of these structural problems in someone else's work, whereas I'm a lot more blind to my own writing. Problems. So that's why I usually love editing, other people's work, because I can, look at it a lot more critically, and then it gives me a little bit more of a clearer scope on what a problem looks like. So that's helped me a lot. Oh man, everyone's really chill. No worries. Congrats. That's awesome. Well, I think, as long as I get the sense that you're probably pretty low-key bookfish from how positive and encouraging you are in the comments. So I would say you probably would be a great editor. And that's what it's all about. It's never about, being super mean or anything, but it's more about saying, hey, we're all human, even there's imperfections in Dostoevsky's writing, right? But it's all about, working together to make it a great product. So I think, I think if someone gets all fussy about it, that's usually not, that almost never happens, because most people who are putting their work out there, really want to see it get better. And honestly, that's how it gets better. It's just, you gotta get other people with fresh eyes to look at it. The ugliness of Dr. Zion's worsened Dr. Matthew's mood as he approached his son across the puke-colored carpet. It's a bit of a funny detail. As he approached his son. Yeah, a lot of these details are just kind of fatty. They're fun. I guess I'm trying to establish the room. Let me think. I guess if I was doing this, what would I say? I don't know. I mean, I guess working the details in sometimes. Why bring up puke? Funny, but off tone. Doze off on your way, old timer, Blake added as he swiveled in his seat and threw his leg over the nearby couch's armrest. That's not for dinner time. True that. Does a funny real time, Blake said as he swiveled in his seat and threw his leg over the nearby couch's armrest. His face grew serious once he saw the scowl. His expression. That's kind of funny wording. Way to represent. Aware that he had just thrown salt in a wound and faltered for a few moments. Scott noticed Blake failing to recover and enjoyed seeing him fidget for a few moments before Blake offered him his Sprite and asked, thirsty? The sip of soda relaxed Scott somewhat, and he lowered the can. Blake said, I'm sorry. Is your patient all right? Nothing serious, I hope. It's a little bit too verbose. I'd just be like, sorry. Nothing serious, I hope. Nothing serious? A few tender parts in library on how the examiner never noticed. I'm definitely still in the race, he said almost to himself. Blake was engrossed in the story. Take it easy, good bookfish. Have a good one. He had not even completely finished the story when it was what I mean. Non-custom laser here is crap. The one I showed you cuts the flap of the laser itself. No keratome or any of the blades needed. That protects against wrinkle flaps or any of the complications that come from this dated equipment. If we plant one of those in our office and fix up that old exam room, we'll barely use big chunk of dialogue. Yeah, whenever like you feel yourself unconscious, I'm also tired, so like be aware I'm a little bit sleepy and I may be turning in. I may be following Bookfish to bed, or actually she's going to work, but I'm going to bed. Scott felt the sincerity in Blake's voice and nodded, saying, "Well, what did you have in mind?" Blake went on to describe, I could take pictures. Do we need... I mean, you've been saying everything in these big chunks in dialogue already. This probably could get communicated through dialogue because the narrative summary is pretty lean. So you probably don't need to break it out in a narrative summary here. Concluded his pitch, and we even rented out to the doctor. That's why Dr. James and I are meeting for lunch. You should come. I think his whole practice is on board. The surgical center too. Oh, that's why that guy was there. Maybe he tries to hide. Doesn't have much conflict. Why? He's excited about getting on board. I don't know if I feel comfortable allowing him near such expensive piece of equipment. He's my friend, Ed, and I think you're the one struggling with the expensive equipment lately, Blake replied. Scott felt a surge of anger rise up in his gut, and even though Blake seemed shocked, I think it's... Escalate. I'm your son and a partner too. That doesn't even much say, does it? Laser's the future, and if you don't want to be a part of it, I won't force you. We probably could have him threaten to leave the practice. That would give some stakes, because I want to see something really... I'll start reading. I kind of want to finish it now. I'm kind of curious. Well, that's a good sign. Pushing Pat versus my plan. I didn't have a problem with to pool funds with me. Why do you think I'm carrying on my calculations for laser? You're acting like a child, Blake. Okay, I'm just going to kind of do... I'm really sleepy, so I'm about to go to bed, but I'm going to do a speed through. He's trying to march to the door, they're looking back. He teeter on his toes. His son was still at lunch. Compelled by subconscious rage, Scott passed the old, near unused examining room. How are we only halfway done? I feel like it's escalating. It took some effort to leave the old room. Took the man things on tentatively. Do do we really need description of the room? I think just mentioning it, that it exists, all that's really necessary to the story. I mean, I guess there's going to be some sort of climactic thing, so I think the writer is trying to get a sequel in here. Start the office, experience. Okay. Yeah, maybe I take back what I said about threatening to leave the practice. Like, maybe that's like your whole card. And then just trim this scene a lot. I mean, it's just as these scenes are getting pretty long for reasons unknown. Took away Scott. Okay, Blake, file forms. I would just re-outline this. Oops. The seams. Continuation of the argument. Earlier, there's something that can ratchet. So then make it different. Scott bristled in his brow for the conversation was well. Maybe if we go to your office, Blake said, guys, follow correctly. Putting what? Being a doctor? No. Just from this practice with you. And where will you go, boy, doctor? Okay, his son's quitting. Yay! It took a long time to get here. Maybe this just happens. Their main argument. Any people still hanging in there? See you and me, Silent Willow. Rock and roll. Got until Friday to finalize the move. I changed my mind. I think you should leave now. Scott 33. Trisking. Jack rings. 5 cases. Okay, so now he's trying to get even with his son by taking his cases. And I'll do a more thorough review of this too, Mr. Writer. So do not represent. Thank you, Leslie. Prepped fast that day. Want to finish? Okay. So pretty much the doctor is just kind of, yeah. You may outlast me, Silent Willow. I'm getting tired. I just kind of like, I want to see what happens before I give it up. Seventh surgery took longer, so he's doing like all these back-to-back surgeries now, trying to get even with his son. Okay. So we have a full successful day of surgery, which nothing much happens. Okay. I'm just trying to get to the outline here. To the end. So he goes home. Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, so time passes. So we probably could have skipped a lot of this. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing. I love the character dynamics, but that does sound pretty sweet. I got to admit. I wonder if it's on. I can see if your channel. Are you actually streaming? That'd be awesome. I can like do a quick peek over. Let's see. Nice. I hope you are. Nice. I'll just do a quick. Offline. Okay. Oh wait, no. Yeah. I was gonna do a quick like look, see if you were streaming, so I could see your map, but next time. It says you're offline, but next time. That sounds pretty sweet though. Ah, gotcha. I'll have to tune in next time you. That's like one of the things that's always intrigued me is like, because I've written like sci-fi and fantasy, and like I have that novel I'm working on right now, but I've always been like so bad about. Oh, sweet, awesome. I'd love to see it, or even like a link to like a Google image or whatever. But yeah, I've always had so much trouble with the actual like world, like mapping out the world. Like I always kind of can do the description, but actually getting a map down has been something that I probably should make myself do because I think it would help a lot. But I just need to actually get it done, which is it's one troublesome thing. Documents neared finalization, which did little to hesitate. Oops. Yeah, I like this where even though they're breaking up the practice, he goes to bat for his father, which is kind of cool. Scott shaking his hand. Blake couldn't move. He ran his hands through his hair. Sharp corner skipped his lips and he watched his father disappear down the hall. Okay, his father gets all rattled. Okay, then he makes a big boo-boo. Oh man. Yeah, go for it. I think, do I have to do something special to allow for link posting? I'm kind of a noob when it comes to the Twitch stuff. Oh yeah, there we go. Sweet. Oh, that's baller. That's awesome. Are you making like is this like a video game map or something? Or is this just like for your fiction world? This is amazing. I wish I could show it. How do I show it on the, let me just pull it up so if it's okay with you, I'll pull it up so the awesome world can see. Edit. Shazam. Look at that. That's amazing. Well done. I should like extend it here. Awesome job, dude. That's amazing. I like these events for my fiction world. Each one is hand drawn. That's awesome. That's amazing work. I'm really impressed. I envy that dedication to world building, which I believe would really help my, because I'm working on this for a sci-fi novel I'm working on, and I just don't have the visual artistic talent right now to really do something of that magnitude. So my hat's off. I'm turning red with jealousy because that's an amazing job, dude. Well done. That's really cool. Man, I need to do that. I need to do that for my sci-fi world. Yeah. I'll trade you for notes. I'll give you edits on your novel in exchange for like a sci-fi map of mine. Sold. I think she has a good insight for your talent, because that's definitely an amazing job. Like, that's really cool. So, I mean, I would put that up in my room. You could sell them as not just novel ones, but just as general well done pictures. That's amazing. I'm always staggered by artistic talent. It's or like, like the visual arts is something that I'm a much more like, my natural affinity is much more towards like writing. So whenever I see someone who has, talents in both, it's always like really, really cool. So that's awesome. All right, let's go back to these troublesome doctors. What they're up to. Keratone weight. Okay. He hurt someone's eye. Ooh, gets his son. Full hour passes. Call back. So I think like what the writer's doing here is he has this Dr. Blake Matthews, and I think it's like the first. So like the dad's always referred to as Dr. Matthews, and it's the first time the son's referred to as Dr. Matthews. I think that's a cool moment, but yeah, try to keep it in there. But I would work on the other story stuff first. No. great story. I'll go through this in more detail. It just may be. I think it may be a little bit. I don't know how much more good stuff you'll get out of me tonight, anyways. Oh well, thanks. Ooh, landscapes. That would be awesome. If you do landscapes, let me know. I'll be first on the list to order them, because I guess that's kind of a landscape, right? Like, let me click on it again. It kind of is landscape-y, yeah. I mean, it's really well done. I'm impressed you do this by hand though. Like, it looks so good. Well, I'm impressed. If you do landscapes though, let this guy know. I'll be the first to order one. Oh, I still had it pulled up in the browser. You're good. The browser state hadn't refreshed yet, so here's a landscape. Oh, nice. Oops, taking a wrong turn. Ooh, I don't know if that one's letting me do it. I'm getting the creepy animal imgers and the broken links. It's pretty cool though. Man, I love the 404 pages on some websites. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't think that one went through, but I can hold on for a few minutes. Strong story. Combine a bunch of scenes. If you do the same thing, trim, focus on character. They are well developed and strong narrative. Yay. Is it going now? Dun, dun, dun. Nope. Yeah, it's just funny how it works. It's a very cool shebang, though. Have anybody seen Force Awakens? Oh, there it goes. Let's see. Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's super cool. Yeah, I would definitely put that on my wall. Yeah. If I don't know if you do them digitally, I can't. I'm such a noob that I never. Oops. I'm such a noob that I never. I'll put it up on the. Oops. On the imgur. Come on, buddy. I'll put it up on the stream real quick before I hit the road. I'm gonna probably be heading to bed pretty soon, but I'll do this real quick because it's landscape. Shazam! Look at that. That's awesome. Yeah, that'd be some pretty sweet wall art. Very like abstract, very chill. Dude, you like what creative stuff do you not do, Silent Willow? I'm impressed. Well, I can't think of a better note to end on than that awesome awesome artwork, dude. I'll leave it up. I'll leave it up as we sign off here. Let me see. Add window. There we go. So it's just so I can give a face-to-face goodbye here. Well, anyways, everybody, it's late night for me over in Texas right now. So have a wonderful holiday, everybody. I'm gonna try to log on a little bit more often now that some of the work stuff has calmed down and I'm officially on vacation. So nice chatting. Thanks for sharing your awesome work with us, by the way, Silent Willow, as always. Yeah, it's easier, not as expensive since dance and make music. It's awesome. Well, you'll have to share more of your creative pursuits with us, Silent Willow, because they're all pretty baller. And have a good night, man. Take care. Get some rest. Or I don't know. I guess it's daytime for you guys. But thanks for sharing, and we can't wait to hang out again soon.